capable of managing. But one thing that's happened with this spreadsheet is that now it's been stripped of a lot of its own original complexities. And I will continue the process today. I think it will be even simpler by the time you get it. Right now it's so much simpler. First of all, it's completely void of all the calibrations and all that. Doesn't have anything like that. Second, it has only one McKTL set of data that you have. It has iterative calculations because it's the easiest way to deal with equilibrium in a Margules setting, but it's one that you already are familiar with, and it's either to find a temperature or to find a temperature and a composition, whether it depends what you are given, right? So that's not something that at this point should be very difficult for you guys. And sometimes you have to reset it by putting a value and resetting the thing and then making the equal, but if you need help with that, of course, we can have it. So those are the results.
So, if you're given a numerical value that represents how much something costs, or how much benefit you're going to get out through the separation, you have to know how to balance these. If you're given the amount of energy that we're putting in, and suddenly there's a big change in it, you have to know how that's going to affect the system. Think about it in both real world and use the spreadsheet to help prove your answers. Or don't.
It's kind of like relating the costs associated with getting a pure product versus the energy and how intense you have to run the column to achieve that separation.
That'd be a great question.
Yeah. But yeah, essentially, you're right.
Oh, okay. I made it crash. I crashed my recursive iteration. I have to start to the lower. Okay. Delicate balance.
So for instance, if your steam was coming in superheated, what kind of effect would that have on your system?
Higher temperatures?
More energy being put in than you would anticipate. So how would you...
Vaporize something that like more of your feed.
Depending on where your steam's going.
Yeah.
And what kind of effect would that have on the overall system? We want you to trace it right through.
Decrease the efficiencies of the bond.
Beautiful. But show us the equation one. So once again, we're going to have the computer lab available with computers that we know these spreadsheets will work on. You're going to have access to use that, your own computer beside, whatever tools you have that are non-communicating with each other. It's the only stipulation that are available to you, similar to Christmas style. Each different question is going to be a host of A through N, and being an undeterminate letter,
Okay.
where we'll ask questions and ask you to place an understanding. Okay? Throughout all of it, the number is going to be less important than how you get there.
And what about the notes you want us to leave in the Excel files, right? You want us to put notes down and stuff?
You can either write comments on it, or much better in the column A, just put a little bracket, open bracket, square bracket, number, close square bracket, and then do it on your own thing, whatever you like. But
And handwritten notes work too.
yeah.
So say this Excel sheet just broke down and everything is like divided like this.
Mm.
Where would you go back and like start from, just to get the
Yeah,
whole
you always put some number in the temperature, like 75, and then you equal to your thing. So I would love to have a better way to do this than that.
What happens if you get a negative? Like, we get a negative when we did this with our actual data, and we were told to ignore it.
No, I mean the negative. No, it's because the negative with the data happen usually when that was a problem with the refractive indexes, because they could produce absolute numbers. Here, because we are starting from a logical, we're forcing it to follow a logical progression. Then I think we're not going to see that sort of issues.
The data that you're seeing should be much more idealized, that you won't be having that. You have to force it into a.
Make a lot of sense.
It should make sense. Whereas before it did make sense if you looked at it with a certain variability. Now it should make sense with the numbers that are provided to you. You don't have to make that jump.
Can you comment on the economic model tab?
Yeah. So what that was set there for us to have the possibility to ask you an optimization based on cost, on money, right? So if we might ask you to improve for example, we put a price in the methanol, and depending on the composition, you improve it. Or we could ask you to save, we can put a cost on the steam and ask you to reduce the cost of steam, or combinations, right? So we can ask you something like that. The idea is that you could get an objective function, and you can try to optimize it. Right? We wouldn't ask you for a perfect optimization, but something that you could get. The idea, I don't think, because it couldn't be done through Solver, I think. Or maybe it's possible. I haven't tried.
Yep.
In this heat UT task, I'm getting all of it to be rapid.
The heat duty tab.
Yeah. And the iterations are working on a lot.
So say that again, sorry?
The heat duty.
UT tab.
Sorry, 1 second. Oh, this is all messed up. I haven't, yeah, that has not been kind of fixed. Sorry, these are some remnants from integrating the thing, so that all needs to be cleared up. Yeah, this is kind of from importing it from the other one and has not been completely cleared, so that's going to be clean. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, so this is pretty much, we're just putting data and we're getting the graph is spat out as. Is that what, we're not supposed to make our own, operating lines? My question.
Well, they are going to be calculated because the operating line for the operating line for the reflow ratio is RD over RD plus 1, and the other one, so it's the same as the other one.
Yeah, but I mean, we're not really doing too much ahead by ourselves. That's what I'm saying. We're just
Well,
the data.
it's up to you.
How
Yeah.
do you use it? When's your next exam? What time?
3 to 6.
3 to 6. This one's at what time in the morning? Fun.
Yeah.
Now, available a short period of time.
Huh?
Make available a short period of time after another exam to ask questions about the
Oh, of course, but I have Senate until 6, and then I'm
you guys haven't had the opportunity to play with this spreadsheet yet, like you have with the spray glare. I think it's important that you do have the time to ask questions about it. would you like a time available after your Monday exam to ask questions directed at this spreadsheet?
What? Sorry, before I have a quick question. Do you have exams on Tuesday afternoon or on Wednesday? How can we ask if what's the name of that room? B316?
Yeah.
Is that room available? Could we kidnap that room for longer than from 8:30 to 11:30? What I mean is, could we start the exam in theory at 8:30, but in practice maybe a little bit later, and have like 1 hour of just friendly talk?
I don't think that's gonna fly.
Ah, okay. Oh, fine.
I really like where you're going with this, Professor Mazzanti, and I feel like what might have more value for the class is if either of you was available on Tuesday evening with that lab room available, so that we could have an open Q&A session. So, kind of like
Okay, so let's do this.
Oh, sorry, I meant Monday evening.
Let's do this. You guys have an exam that ends at 6 on Monday?
Yes, it ends at 6.
Okay, 6:30. I have a Senate session that ends at 6, and we all have this old habit of eating or something like that. So why don't we book something at 6:30 or 7, whatever you guys want, so we can eat and refresh ourselves or something. Let's try to book B316, which I'm sure is not going to be booked for anything, but people might be using it or something. But let's book it and get some scimitars or something to ask the people to